This video is brought to you by the community. Thank you to all of my channel members for your continued support. Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the Esperia Glaive, a ship which has been reverse engineered by Esperia. It's a captured Vanduul ship refit for purpose, allowing us mere humble humans to fly this ship. This is a very powerful ship. I'm very deeply upset that I didn't know you could obtain it from completing one of the Arena Commander events. So I've missed out, essentially, on a ship which I think looks fantastic, but is going to change in the distant future. There are some interesting facts and theories to be crafted about this ship, and it does have some interesting and bizarre features. We'll come on to those later. But we do know that the alien ships from the Vanduuls are going to get reworked in the future, and this whole look that they have now is going to change into something different, which is kind of a shame because I like the way they look. But the ship, in my opinion, does suffer from an identity crisis, and that's probably why they're getting reworked a little bit. Let's take a look at what the future holds for the Vanduul series of ships. So, a couple of months ago, probably longer, CIG released a video saying, look, we're reworking all the Vanduul ships, and they do look fantastic. So I think players that own either the Scythe or the Glaive, depending on what side of the fence you sit on, I think you're going to be fairly happy with the end result. I think the new look for the Vanduul ships looks incredible. I can't wait to experience that sort of dramatic, evil, killing vibe ship that the Vanduuls have gone for. So it's a completely different look. As you can see now, it's a completely different. They've kept the shape, but they've made it less colourful, a bit more aggressive in certain areas. It's got a much improved cockpit compared to the variant that we have in game now. So this is across the board. So this does affect the blade, the Scythe, and of course the Glaive. But even the cockpits look incredible, with like that sort of bubble gel for the cockpit, and they've kept the shape and the firepower. I don't know if that'll be tweaked, but it's a whole new animal. They look bigger. Whether or not they become bigger, I don't know, but they certainly look as deadly as they did before, right? I do feel like this new look suits that sort of Vanduul species better than the current variants of the Vanduul ships we have in game. I think they've rectified a problem. As I said, I think that the current versions of the ships that we have in game, the Scythe, the Glaive, not necessarily the Blade, they don't quite suit the Vanduul aesthetics, you know? But these new ones almost certainly will. I do think they look absolutely incredible, and very much look forward to trying these out because they just look evil, and I can't wait, to be honest, because you guys know I am a Alien fanboy. I think it allows the developers to explore different routes and avenues and free up their mind to create and conjure up all kinds of sorcery and evil, and you know, unique designs. Look at, they've proved what they're capable of with the release of the Sulun, which was absolutely incredible. So it's for the better, I feel. I certainly wouldn't be upset if I owned a Glaive or a Scythe to be picking up a variant of Vanduul ship with this new look. I just think they look absolutely superb. They're not as flary, let's say, as the ones we have in game right now. They're a little bit more subtle, a little bit more sinister. And sinister's the key word there, right? They are the plague of the human race. They keep causing trouble and killing people for no apparent reason. They're just evil. So the way they've transferred that to the new look, I think, is going to be a very welcome change. As you can see, it is shrouded in a cloak of evil. The Grim Reaper himself would pilot one of these ships, I'm certain of that. Okay, let's move on to the ship that we have in game and discuss some of its unique features, why I think it has an identity crisis, possibly provoking the rework. Who knows? This is all just theory work. So firepower wise, this ship is not lackluster. it packs a hell of a wallop, courtesy of 2 size 5 plasma guns. Now, I couldn't find the source, so I'm going off recollection, but I believe the way plasma guns are going to work in the future is the rounds will be fired, they hit your target, and the idea is that that round itself would then pancake onto a ship's armor and gradually melt it away. Could be really useful for, you know, getting through armor and then destroying components. How they'll work against shields, I'm not sure. There might be some tidbits of information that are incorrect there, because that is just purely recollection from my part. I couldn't remember, but if that is the case, then it's certainly going to be an interesting system for plasma cannons. You can also see we have 2 size 1s located on the cockpit chin there, and the ship has an identity crisis. I'll go into that in a bit more detail later on, because I think that's partly why they wanted to rework it, and if I recall correctly, I think the devs did mention that themselves. So firepower, not a problem. Speed, also not a problem. This is a heavy fighter, but the acceleration is ridiculous, courtesy of these whopping engines at the back with the red flame, which I think is fantastic. Now, I hope they add that into the new ones. I really, really do hope that they add the red engines, although from what we saw, I believe they were like a dark orangey colour, but I think the red should stay. Identity crisis time. Okay, so the Vanduul. Aggressors, horrible, horrible species, you know, kill humans, that's their thing. So, looking at this ship, it's, in my opinion, far too similar to the Tavaran. The way the ship looks is very, very bird-like, and like the blades that surround the edges of the ship resemble feathers a bit too much. So I think that this ship, although it is awesome, is far too reminiscent of the Tavaran species of alien that we have in game. This is something that you would see them fly and build, with this sort of bird-like, feathery design language being used on the Scythe and the Glaive itself. Not necessarily the blade. I think the blade is a step in the right direction, but the Scythe and the Glaive seem to share this cosmetic with like the frails at the edge of the wings. They look like feathers. It's very bird-like with his wings sort of forward. Internally though, it is a fantastic place to sit. You lay down on your stomach and pilot the ship that way. It has excellent MFDs. Everything is red on this ship. You have all the red in the world ever when you're piloting this ship. So if red is your favourite colour, you are well catered for. But it's a pretty good cockpit. I kind of like the laying down feeling. It's a unique approach compared to all the other ships we have in game. Laying down is pretty cool, I think. I wouldn't like to do it personally for long periods of time, but you know, it is what it is. So internally, cockpit is good, but it's going to be reworked. Let's not forget to a more sort of bubble gel shaped cockpit, which is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see the rework of the cockpit for these ships. It'd be interesting to see just how CRG intend to tackle MFDs, or do they even have MFDs? I mean, if they're repurposed for human use, who knows? Could be interesting. Okay, let's now then take a look at the ship's stock weapons and components. Okay, so here we are in our trusty Urkel games, and as you can see, we have 2 size 1s. Those are the ones under the cockpit of the ship itself, and these are weak and they are bespoke. Size 5s are the rafts. These are plasma cannons, and they are also bespoke with 541 sustained DPS. So the firepower is pretty impressive on this particular ship. Missiles, we get 4 bullets times 2, and these are infrared missiles. You could obviously swap these out. I believe there's different missile configurations you could add to this ship. It's pretty flexible like that. We'll see where the balancing takes this ship. At the moment, we have 2 size 1 shields. These are the all stops, and I would definitely swap these out for FR66s or even Mirages, possibly. I think that would be the way to go for these shields. They're not the best, the all stops, to be quite honest with you. So I would be looking at the FR66s for sure. power plant, we have a size 1 power plant, which is the Fire Cascade. I haven't had the need to change that. I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. We have bracers as our 2 size 1 coolers. And then finally, that brings us to the beacon. I would swap that for an Atlas just for the range, to get you around the verse a little bit easier. And probably the Atlas is going to be a very useful drive to have when we get Pyro as well. So I would definitely slap a Atlas in there for now. Until the rework, we just don't know how that ship is going to pan out, component-wise and internally. Okay, now let's talk about one of the ship's most bizarre features. Blink and you will miss it. This ship is combat capable, okay? It has cannons, it has weapons under the cockpit, and of course it now has the ability to commit knife crime. I have to admit, I hate that. I do not, I mean, I kind of like it because it's bizarre, but on the same token, I'm just like, okay, I mean, it's just no from me. I'm sorry, like, I just don't, just why? It's a unique feature, okay, let's say that, and I'm sure there is lore behind it. I believe the F8C has shields that are anti-shank proof because of this ship. Will that transfer to the reworks? I hope not, because I just think it's a gimmick, you know, it doesn't really have an effect. You're hardly going to use it, let's be honest. The cool thing about this ship though, the coolest thing, are the engines in my opinion. They are super slick, super quick, they look amazing when you're flying it, and the acceleration is very, very good for this ship. That will probably transfer to the rework, but you will be in quantum before you know it with these engines. They are incredible. So it has engines, it has quite a significant amount of firepower. It has too much Tavaran blood in its DNA, or too much Tavaran DNA in its blood is probably the way to say that. So the rework makes sense, but I did also notice that it does have the standard human QT drive effect, which I was shocked and appalled, I tell you. No, I wasn't. I was like, oh, well, that's a shame, because every other alien ship, the alien races have their own QT drives, so it kind of makes them unique. You know, we got the Banu and the Tavarans have their own QT aesthetic, and it looks really good. I imagine the Vanduul's one could possibly be some sort of red, because that's the kind of scheme they're going for. I don't know if it will fit necessarily with the rework, but I was a little bit taken back by the fact that it just has the standard QT jump, so nothing exciting there, unfortunately. As you can see here though, at night time you get to witness all of the red in the world ever. So again, if red is your favourite colour, then you are almost certainly going to be well catered for here. So the problem with this ship is it looks a little bit too Tavaran. I feel like the identity crisis was a thing that they wanted to remedy, and it makes sense. I mean, don't waste the hull. Maybe they could give this to the Tavaran in some ways while we wait for the rework. Now, let's move on to this firepower. As you can see, everything is pointing towards your target, including the knifey, shanky blades. So the ship is almost certainly capable of punishing whoever you're trying to kill. The cannons are superb. I got jumped by a Cutlass Black, and in 3 shots, that tiny little ship exploded into a million pieces. This ship is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope they keep that fun and transfer it over. As you can see here, we have a Talon Shrike currently getting smashed by these, just the plasma cannons, mind you, not the size 1s. And if you pay attention, look how quickly the shields drop. Just gone into nothing. Now, we know the Talon is a fairly smaller ship, but it's just to give you a rough idea of how much firepower potential this ship has. And yeah, I think plasma cannons are almost certainly going to be, when they're in game working and functioning as should be, I think that could be a very viable loadout for a lot of ships if they're able to equip them. If they stay bespoke on the Glaive, I think that would also be cool. But here you can see the comparison between the two. The Glaive is huge compared to our little Talon here, but you see some design symmetries between the two, like the feathery look between them, and I think that is why we got a nice juicy rework coming in the future. It makes sense that they do that. Okay, so now it's part of the video where we're going to wrap this up. So we're going to start by doing our walk around to give you a sense of scale. So as we move closer towards the ship, we can take a deeper look at some of the features that the ship has. So here we have our knifey stabby at the front. Alongside that are the fantastic plasma cannons. Now, I don't like the landing gear on this ship, it has to be said. It's very hard to get the ship to sit still on any surface, gravity or not. And then we have the missiles on the wings. Make our way round towards the rear of the ship, and there are those sort of blades, if you could call them blades, that resemble feathers, sort of dripping off the ship. The arms of the ship, let's call them, again look bird-like. It looks very vulture-esque. But as we move towards the rear, we have yet another landing gear because of its unique shape. But then we do get these really, really cool engines. Now, I think in the rework, like I said, they were like a yellowy colour. I much prefer the red. I think the engines should remain huge, in my opinion. I just think it suits the ship designer. So I think the Glaive in the rework has 3 or 4 engines, so that could be even better. As we continue making our way round, then we have the wings folded up with the landing gear underneath. Again, it's a very symmetrical ship, very few asymmetrical parts on there, you'll note. The lights are pretty good, as we saw earlier. The lighting is really good. Like at night time, the ship is just all the red ever. As we move towards the front, even the wings in this landing configuration look knifey to some extent. There are the other missiles towards the tip of the wing there. And again, we come full circle and we have our stabby bladies here. Plasmas. And they are awesome weapons. They really are fantastic. Unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to try them out on bigger prey, but I do feel the Glaive has some damage at its, disposal for sure. So then we'll get into the cockpit. The cockpit itself does look like a bird skull as well, so I welcome the change. I think that sort of bubble canopy at the front will be much more appealing and sinister and sort of suits the Vanduul way of life. As we get in through on our belly, it's an interesting animation. Visibility is good. Don't forget that the wings won't be there when you're flying, so you're going to have fairly decent visibility, and you do get to see those wonderful plasma cannons in action. Cockpit, easy, simple to read. Bright red in your face again, but everything you could possibly want to operate the ship effectively. The radar in the middle is a little bit transparent, might be a little bit difficult to see. But other than that, guys, it's a rare ship. It's one I wish I'd picked up. I look forward to the rework. So, yeah, good ship, tons of potential. So that's my video on the Vanduul Glaive, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, you know what buttons to press. And I, of course, will have a lot more Star Citizen content en route to your location very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Cheers.